A man without hatred. In a peaceful town in the English countryside lived Edward Collins, a man known for his gentle heart and unwavering values. He ran a small woodworking workshop, where he not only crafted fine furniture, but also trained young apprentices from underprivileged backgrounds. Edward believed in building not only furniture, but also people's lives. But one day, his peaceful world was shattered. His trusted business partner, Marcus Hill, manipulated financial records and shifted the blame onto Edward, accusing him of fraud. Edward, shocked and betrayed, found himself standing in court, facing accusations he never imagined. Though there was no concrete evidence, public opinion quickly turned. News articles painted Edward as a cunning man in sheep's clothing. His workshop lost customers, students withdrew, and even some close friends disappeared. But Edward never once spoke ill of Marcus. When asked why, he simply replied, "Greater than I'd rather lose everything than let hatred take root in my heart." Nights were the hardest. Alone, under flickering light, Edward would sit with a cup of tea, battling the growing anger in his chest. He had every reason to be bitter, to seek revenge, to expose Marcus in return. But he didn't. Instead, he wrote in his journal, which he called the Book of Light, "Greater than if I choose vengeance, I become like the one who betrayed me. But if I choose patience, I remain who I was before the storm." This battle between his wounded pride and his desire to remain kind was more difficult than any legal fight. Rather than closing his doors, Edward turned his workshop into a community space. He invited orphaned children to learn simple crafts. With no money coming in, he lived modestly, often skipping meals so that others could eat. Word began to spread. People saw not a criminal, but a man of dignity. Volunteers came. Donors quietly supported him. Slowly, the ashes of destruction gave birth to something more beautiful than what he had before. Years later, Marcus Hill was convicted in a separate scandal. His reputation destroyed. He walked out of prison with nothing. Homeless and sick, Marcus showed up one day at Edward's community center, too weak to speak. Those around Edward burned with rage, turned him away. Some said, "Call the police." But Edward walked up to Marcus, placed a blanket over his shoulders, and said, "Greater than you're not the man you were, and I'm not here to remind you of your sins. I'm here to remind you there's still hope." Marcus broke into tears. "Why?" he asked. "Why are you helping me?" Edward smiled faintly. Because hatred didn't win. Edward's act of grace became a symbol of true strength in the town. Universities invited him to speak. He never spoke about vengeance. Instead, he spoke of choices. "You may not choose what others do to you," he would say, "but you always choose how you respond." When a journalist asked him how he forgave Marcus, Edward responded, "Greater than forgiveness is not forgetting, it's remembering, and choosing to love anyway." Before his passing, Edward left behind a letter for his future grandchildren. "Greater than if the world turns dark around you, be the light. If someone wrongs you, do not mirror their darkness. Your greatest victory will never be revenge. It will be walking away with your heart still whole." Long after Edward passed, the community built a small statue in his honor. On the plaque were written his words, "Greater than the strongest man is the one who can walk through fire and still offer warmth." Edward Collins, a simple carpenter, left behind more than chairs and tables. He left behind a legacy of mercy, patience, and strength. Moral: a man without hatred is the brightest light in the darkest world. No matter how deep the wound, a clean heart will always rise above. Edward's story teaches us that real courage is not in retaliating but in remaining kind, even when the world is not.